Hey guys, it's Techo Freak here, and welcome to episode 20 of my custom story creation tutorial for Amnesia Rebirth. And today we're going to be talking about advanced lighting. We're going to be doing part 2. I'm going to be showing you guys all the functions that we can use in our script file to mess around with the lights in our level. Pretty cool stuff and pretty fun stuff to mess around with. In the last episode, we did talk about all like the options here under like light and under flicker and stuff, and we messed around with the spotlight and shadows and stuff. So a good video to watch, so you know how that works, how all of that works, and it will definitely help you when we're doing today's episode, because you'll kind of know what all the functions are going to be, controlling. So good idea to reference that. And we finally hit episode 20. I just want to thank you guys for all your support on my videos. A lot of you leave comments, supporting the channel. I love to see those comments. Thank you guys a lot. I'm going to keep the videos coming. Again, I do keep a list of all your suggestions. So if you have any suggestions, make sure you leave them in the comments. I make it, if it's not already in my list, I go ahead and add it to my list. Just to show you guys, I'm not kidding. This is literally the list I have here, with everything I left to talk about. Actually, now that I think about it, outdoor environments should go in here as well. I didn't put this here, but there's a bunch of stuff here that I still want to cover. All the X's of the things we've covered so far. We're about to wrap up advanced lighting. So again, I take all your suggestions seriously, and I put them all in here, I make sure we're going to cover these things. So so with that, just want to make sure you guys are subscribed and you leave a like on this video, and again, comment if there's anything you guys want to see in future episodes. I always love your feedback. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on our video today. So we'll be talking about lighting functions that we can use to control lights in our level. So the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to try and show a lot of examples. We're going to load up our game a bunch of times and show off all the things we're going to be messing with today as much as possible. There's not too many light functions, so it shouldn't be anything crazy, but still very informative and useful for you to know to control the stuff, the lights in your levels. So all right, with that, let's talk about how we're going to do this today. So in the first scripting episode, in episode 5, we set up this collide callback here. It's called trigger_1. Under area here, and on the collide callbacks, we put in player here, so that when the player collides with this trigger area, we run the function on collide player trigger1. And if we go to our script file here and we scroll down, we have or scroll up, I guess. We have our on collide player trigger1. That's the function that's called, and we check to see if the alt state is equal to 1. If the alt state is equal to 1, it pretty much means that the player has entered the trigger area, which is exactly what we're looking for. Here we do some stuff here. Specifically, we're just enabling the players running on this one, and then we'll return false. And returning false pretty much just tells the game that once we run this once, we don't want to run it again. So disable the trigger area once all this stuff runs here. So that's why we return false here. So I know I've explained this a lot, but there might also be some new people watching that haven't watched any of the previous episodes. So I want to make sure we cover that. And this is where we're going to be working today, right under here. And this is actually one of the ones we're going to be talking about here. So let me clear that one so we can properly talk about it. And so we're going to talk about a few functions. I want to talk about the first basic ones, which is setting lights inactive and setting the brightness on the lights. So I'm going to do that with 2 lights. So I want to show you guys which one. So what I'm thinking is we have a light right here called light 5. What I want to do is I want to pretty much disable the light entirely from our level, and this will obviously cause it to turn off. Right now it's set to be on, but we're going to go ahead and disable that light, and once we disable it, it should obviously not illuminate, and it should also not be active in our level as well. And then what we also going to do, we have a box light here. This box light kind of encompasses the entire map and sets the the light to we have it, so I think 0.01. That's the brightness of this box light, just to give the whole level a little bit of light, so it's not completely pitch black. That's why we have it. But we're gonna mess around with this one as well today. So just make a note of that. So let's go ahead and go back to our script and let's talk about some functions now. So let's go ahead and I'm going to zoom you guys in so you guys can see a little better as well. And let's scroll this down here to the top. So again, we're going to be working in here. So let's start talking about the functions now. So we're going to start talking about we're not player. First, we're going to talk about light underscore set visible. And again, all these functions that I'm going to be talking about today will be linked in the Pastebin in the description below. So if you need to copy the code or reference it, I have it written out with all the description as well. So you can go ahead and go down there. So we're going to do light set visible, and it takes two values here. It takes the name of the light, and it contains whether or not the light should be visible. Also, it says right here, can contain wildcards. So if you didn't watch the wildcard episode, wildcards is just pretty much a way of specifying more than one light in the level, in your level, than just instead of just specifying one. I'll make a mention to it here, but just for you guys to know. So our light was called light underscore 5. If let's say you had multiple lights called like light 1, light underscore 1, light underscore 2, light underscore 3, etc., you can set this to star, and you can control all of them like this. So everything with light underscore, and then anything after that will be set visible according to what you say here. But we will just set it to 5 here, and then we'll put comma, and we want it to set this to false, so we're gonna make it not visible. So the light pretty much will be like disabled entirely. And then the next one we're going to talk about is light underscore set brightness. And again, we can specify light. And again, these can use wildcards as well. So you can specify, you can do the same thing as before, put a star after if you want to specify multiple lights. This one, I believe this one is light underscore box underscore 1. And then we'll do comma space. And then we can set a brightness here. This is going to be a float. So we're going to need something like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it to be completely, to be 0. So no brightness at all. I'm going to do 0.0f. And then we'll go ahead and close this out with our semicolon. And let me just double check. Yep, that's light box underscore box underscore 1. So that's correct there. So now that we have those two written out, I'm gonna go ahead and launch up the game just to show you guys that it works. Again, light 5 is this one right here. So we should see this light pretty much turn off, and then we should see our like global illumination that we have for the box light here, and we should see it just kind of turn off as well. So it'll go from being slightly lit up to being completely pitch black. So let's go ahead and launch up our game and check it out. Alright, here we are in our level. So you can see we're a little bit lit up here. It's not completely pitch black. And you can see that this light is on. Our point light here is on. So we're going to walk through this collide area here. What we should see this light turn off, and then this environmental lighting that we have should go off completely as well, making it completely pitch black. So let's go ahead and walk through and see that. So there goes, this light turned off, and you can see we turned off that slight global illumination, and we're completely pitch black now. Yeah, and that light, you can see these lights are on, but this one on the right here is off. So that worked perfectly. So let's go ahead and go back to our script, and let's talk about some other functions. All right, so we're back in our script here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna comment these out here and put slashes on these. This makes it a comment, which means that the game won't run this code if it has like a slash like this. So it's going to be ignored here. So we can talk about some other ones now. So let's talk about the fade brightness too. So we're gonna do light underscore fade brightness 2, and then we're gonna hit enter on that one. And what this does, this will fade light to a new brightness that you specify. So it could either increase in brightness or decrease depending on what you specify, and this will pretty much make it slowly change the light. So what I'm going to do is I want to set that box light to change to being completely off, but I want to do it slowly. I don't want it to just kind of just snap and then completely go black. I want it to slowly get to that darkness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put light box 1 here. So light underscore box underscore 1. We'll do comma space. Now this is the brightness we want it to reach. So we're going to do 0.0 F. Again, you don't have to go down. You can go up if you want to make it brighter. Of course, it's down. It's up to you. We'll do comma. Now this is the amount of time we want it to take to reach the brightness that we set. So how long we want it to get to 0.0. I'm gonna say let's do 5 seconds. So this is a float, so we're gonna do 5.0 F. And it will take, that should make it take 5 seconds to reach the brightness we specified, which is 0. And then the last one, we have an equals here, equals easing linear. This is an easing. Easing is pretty much what function should be used to call this, and I'll explain it in a second. But when we have the equals here, it pretty much means that it has a default value. So we don't necessarily have to put anything here, but you can specify it if you wanted to. I'm going to specify it just for your education purposes, and I'm going to put easing and then underscore, and we can see all the easings. You can see it's pretty much if you wanted to reach that new brightness using a specific kind of increment or decrement function, this is what you would use. So like, for example, you wanted to do like an exponentially, you can do that. You wanted to follow like I think they got like sine pattern, you can do that as well. In our case, we're just gonna do the default, which is linear. So it will just linearly reach the new brightness. So it, if you've taken like a math class or something, you'll know that linear just pretty much means from point A to point B, pretty much straight like that. So that's exactly what it is. It's just gonna go straight to the new brightness. So that's what we're gonna put here. Again, you don't have to put anything here. You can just leave this blank and just leave the first 3 values here. But we're gonna specify it again just for you guys to be aware of that. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the semicolon at the end here, and we're gonna hit save. So now let's go ahead and go back into our level again, and let's go ahead and check it out. Or actually, let's do one more. Let's do one more. Here's what I'm gonna do. So actually no, it'll be distracting. Let's do this one first, and then I'll show you guys the other one. So let's go ahead and hop into our level. All right, here we are back in our level again. All right, so again, you can see how we're illuminated here very slightly. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and cross this line here, and everything should just kind of darken up. I think I'll walk backwards just so that you could see it a little better. So again, we'll walk backwards and you'll see it just slowly go. So we activated it here, and let's watch. You can see it slowly gets darker until it reaches the complete darkness here. Pretty cool, really useful. I'm probably gonna actually keep this in this level. I think I'm gonna do it on my timer that I have down at the bottom. But this is actually a really cool effect, and serves to like kind of just creep out the player. You have the player's level is slightly illuminated, and then for some reason they trigger some event, and then now they're like the player's wondering like, whoa, when did it get so dark? Why is it so dark? Kind of good way to creep out the player and add some extra ambience to your level. So really cool. So let's go ahead and head back to our script and talk about some other ones. All right, so here we are back in our script. So now let's talk about the next function we're going to talk about today, and that's going to be light underscore fade 2. And what this one does, instead of fading the brightness, what this one does, it will actually fade it to a new color and radius. Slightly different from that one. It actually doesn't change brightness at all, although color is related to the brightness. That's what we're going to do here. So let's go ahead and hit enter to put it in here. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the name of our light. So we're going to do it to light 5 as well. Or you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna fade all the lights in the room. So we're gonna do light underscore star. So we're gonna use a wildcard here, and I'll explain a little better in a moment when we get to that. And then we're gonna we gotta provide a color now, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about this as well. First, let's just put it in here, and we're gonna do color. And if you wanted to put a default color, we can do that, and I will do that. But I'm gonna show you guys how to put in your own color. The 4 colors you can put is any one of these here. I'll just select any one right now. We're gonna change it in a second, anyways. But if you want to just use one of those 4 base colors, you can just go ahead and do C color underscore, and you can get any of those 4 colors. I'm gonna show you guys how to use your own color. And then next is going to be the radius that we're going to put. So I'm going to fade the radius to 5.0 f. So I believe that should be about half of what it currently is now. So it should be a little smaller. And then we're going to put in the time that's going to take to fade in the light to the new color and the new radius. I'm going to do 5.0 f. That way we can visually see it shrink, perfectly. And we'll go ahead and close that out with that semicolon. Alright, so light underscore star. For those that didn't watch my wildcard video, this is a wildcard. So anything that has the name light underscore and then anything after that will be included in this function. So if we go to our level editor here, you can see we have these lights here. Light 2, light 3, light 4, light 5, and I think the one underneath the lamp here is also light 1, right? Yeah. So what we're gonna do is by doing light underscore star, we're specifying every single one of those lights since they all have something that comes after light underscore. So so we're gonna control all of them simultaneously. And right now we have it set to white. So what we're doing is we're changing the color to white and a radius of 5. But I'm actually gonna set my own color here, and this is where I want to talk a little bit about the C color. So we're going to type in, if you want to specify your own color, you do C color, and then you do parentheses, and then here you can specify the color you want to use. So this is this is going to be RGB. So for example, if we wanted white, you could do something like 1.0, comma 1.0, comma 1.0. And what this is RGB. So this is a brightness of 1 red, a brightness of 1 green, and a brightness of 1 blue. So that's how you read that. So this would pretty much produce a light with a net brightness of 1, and it will have a color of white because we put white on every single one. So if I want to show you guys a website here. I found this just by doing a quick Google search. I just searched color wheel on Google, and we have this this website that lets you kind of select colors and stuff like that. And you notice we have the RGB right here, RGB 13073, and then that's what identifies this color. And if you move it around, the numbers change. See, zeros all zeros, and white is all 255. So we can kind of use this to get our color. So what I'm going to do is just kind of create a ratio using these numbers here, and that's what we will use for our color. So I'm just going to pick a color here. Let me do one with some good numbers here. I guess let's do like this cyan. I think the cyan looks all right. 29, 184, 215, right? So so let me move this over to the side here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a bit of a proportion here. To kind of proportionalize this. So let's say you wanted a light with a brightness of let's say a brightness of 2, right? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your number. Let's say we're gonna do brightness of 2 here, but you can do whatever your brightness that you want. So I'm gonna do 2, and then I'm gonna divide it by the highest number in that color. So in our case, it was 215. So I'm going to do 215 here, and I'm going to hit equals. And now we have like our ratio pretty much that we can use to get our number here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply this ratio by every number in our wheel here, which is 215, 184, 29. So what we're going to do now, so that's what we're going to do now. So let's do that. So we know this one is going to be 2 because we just calculated from this one. So the brightest one, which was blue, is going to be 2. So we'll do 2.0 because that's the brightness we want. And then now we're going to multiply these into the other 2 numbers. So we're going to multiply this into 184. And now we have now we have 1.711. So I'm just going to round it off. I'm just going to use the first three numbers here. So 1.711. So we'll go here and we'll do 1.711. That was for green. And then now we're going to go back to our calculator here, and we'll click here just to click at our number, our ratio back here. And now we're going to multiply this by 29, which was, I think I left. Yeah, that's fine. So that is 0.269. So that's what we're going to put. We're going to put 0.269 here. And that will pretty much give us that color. And the brightness should be about 2 since we did a ratio with 2. So with that, we should have that cyan color when we load in. So I'm going to go ahead and save it here, and let's go ahead and load up into our game and check it out. All right, so here we are in our level. So now what we're going to look for is when we cross this barrier here, we get into this collide area. All these lights should get a little smaller, and they should also change into that color we specified. So let's go ahead and walk through here. And there we go. You see it changed into that like cyan-ish color that we selected here. And this has a brightness of 2, since that's what we kind of put here. And you can feel free to mess around with those numbers. If you get your color ratio right and you feel it's too bright, you can just multiply those numbers by 0.5 so that you can get half as bright, and you can just kind of adjust it from there. So you can just kind of ratio it down from there if you think it's too bright or anything like that. So that's definitely something that I encourage you guys to play around with. It can be a little weird to play around with stuff like that, but pretty simple. Just if this is too bright, multiply by 0.75 so that it'll be 25% less bright, and then see if that works better, and just keep playing around with it like that. So with that, let's go ahead and go back to our script and talk about some more functions. So next we're going to talk about light flash. So we'll go ahead and do light flash, and then we're going to do add. So what this will pretty much do is this will just add a flash of light at any position you specify. It could be at an entity, or it could be at any coordinate you specify. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter here, and so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in the time it's gonna take for the I believe this is the time that the flash should stand for. So this is how long the flash should stay on the screen. So we're gonna say 5 seconds here. So we'll have it flash on the screen for 5 seconds. Then this is how long it should take for the flash to fade in. We're gonna say it fades in over 1 second, so it'll fade into full brightness in 1 second. Fade out time, so how long it should take for the light to fade out. So we'll do 1.0f. Next, we have to put in the position that we're gonna put the light at. To specify a coordinate position, you would do C vector 3f, and then similar to the color, you'll do the parentheses here, and then you'll just put you'll put like 0, 0, 0, which is which will pretty much be the coordinate. It will pretty much be the coordinates 0, 0, 0 in your level editor. We actually will not be doing this way. We'll be placing it at an entity, but that's just useful for you guys to know. I'm gonna hit space here, and I'll leave it there for a second. But we're gonna come back and change that just so that we can talk about the other stuff. Next is the color of the light. So we just talked about color. So for this one, we're just gonna use a default color here. So we'll say C color. We'll say C color underscore, and we'll just do red, and we'll do comma space. And then now we want to go ahead and put in the radius of the light. So let's give the light a radius of 10.0f, so it's pretty clear that we placed it down. And then the last value here is the brightness of that light. So we'll set it to a brightness of 2.0f, just so that it's pretty bright and we can see it pretty easily. So now let's talk about this C vector part here. So let's go into our level editor here, and I'm still zoomed in, but I think you guys should be able to see it. If we go under the general tab here, we have the coordinates right here of any position. So let's say you click on, like, you wanted it to be, you wanted the light to appear on this basket that's over here, right? You have this basket here. You can do general and you can find this position. It's X, Y, Z, and you can put these values in. Instead of 0, 0, 0, you can put these, and the light will flash right there. But instead, if we want to play that light at an entity, we can actually just specify the coordinates of the entity. So for that, we'll need the name of the entity we want to flash it at. So I'm going to flash it right on this gate just so that we can see it right in front of us. So we'll copy the name of this gate here, and we'll go back to our CodeLight application. And now we're going to go ahead and replace this here. And what we're going to do is we're going to do map. We'll do map underscore get entity. Have it right here, get entity, and then we'll put the name of the object that we want to get the coordinates of. So we'll paste that here, relic room gate 1, that's the entity. And then what we'll do is we'll put dot get position, and this will give us the position of this entity in our level. So that will be those same three coordinates that I just showed you guys. So now what this should do, this should create a flash of light for 5 seconds, and it should fade in over 1 second, and then fade out over another second, and then it will be color red. It will have a radius of 10, and it will have a brightness of 2.0 f. So let's go ahead and launch up our game and check this out. See what it looks like. All right, so we're back in our levels. So this is our gate. So at the center of this gate, I think we should get that bright light to appear, and it will be of color red, so it will be pretty easy to tell. So let's go ahead and walk through our collide here, and there it is. There's our red light, radius of 10. Obviously we can't really tell that well. Should stay for 5 seconds and fade away over the course of 1 second. So it worked pretty well. Again, very situational on where you want to use that. But you could pretty much create a bright flash of light is probably the best, case. The best case for it. I think, like, let's say you're trying to simulate an explosion or something. You can use this effect here. You can play a bright flash of white light, and then play an explosion effect, and then the player won't be able to see anything because his screen goes completely white because you just flashed the whole screen. And then when the flash finishes, everything is all crumbled up. You deleted entities and stuff, so you kind of hid the effects of like a cannon. Let's say it was a cannon shooting a wall down, right? So you trigger the cannon, the cannon's about to shoot, you create like a bright flash of light, and then you hear the explosion of the cannon, and then when the flash is over and the player can see again, then you see the crumbled remains of the wall, and you can go ahead, and the player can then continue his journey in your custom story. So just a cool example there of how you can use something like this. So let's go ahead and go back to our script and talk about some other functions. All right, so let's go ahead and comment this out. And with that, we're actually done with all the ones that I actually wanted to show you examples for in our custom story. The remaining ones here I'm going to mention, and just kind of mention how you fill in everything and what they do. So you can just stick around just to kind of be informed on what those other ones do. But you can see all those functions by typing in light underscore, and you can see a whole bunch on the whole bunch of lights that are here. Yeah, mess around with those. So let's go ahead and talk about the next one. So again, we're just going to talk about these, and this one actually has a pretty long list of things. And this one is we'll talk about the main one, and that's the light set flicker active. So this will let you activate any flicker effects on a light. So we'll go ahead and hit enter here. So again, if you watched the last episode, you'll know what flickering is. We did talk about flickering in the level editor. We said it in the level editor. If let's say you already have a light with, if let's say you had a light ready with like flicker settings active, but you didn't activate the flicker, you just deactivated the flicker. So I could probably show you guys. We think we set one up down here, I believe. And I think this box light has it here. flicker, or nah, I think it's this one right here. This one right here, yeah. Flicker, you see flicker active. You see that we set settings here. I know it's off to the right side here. You know, I'll just zoom you guys out here. We set settings here on the right side, 3.3, 3.3, and we set like other settings here. So, but we have it active. We could deactivate it and have it do nothing right now, and then trigger it active in our script whenever we wanted to. So we could, you know, we could set that flicker to be inactive, and then, you know, when the player collides with this this collide area or whatever, we can trigger the light to be active. We can trigger the flicker to be active, and those settings will take effect. So, you know, you could do like, you know, point light 1 or whatever that one was called, and then you set this to be true, and that'll enable the flickering. If let's say you didn't put any flicker options and you wanted to set up flickering in your script file, we can do that as well. This is the one that actually has a ton of variables, and you'll see why. We'll do light underscore, and I believe this is setup flicker, and you can see how many variables it takes. But it's actually not that scary, because you can actually use the level editor as a reference here. All of these values are the same values that are in the level editor. So like first you need the name, and then you have a color and radius and all this stuff. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 values here. So starting with the name of the light that you're going to be doing. So if we go into our level editor here, and let's just look under the flicker tab here, we have the name, that's 1. Then we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 options, right? So every single option in this order is exactly what that function takes. So if you wanted to set it up in your level editor in the same order it appears in the level editor, you can input all of that stuff. And you can set up the flickering in your script. I think this is mainly useful when you're going to set up multiple flickers, but you're a bit lazy. You're going to set up multiple flickers with the same options. You can actually use wildcards in this one. So when you provide the name, you know, light setup flicker, you do the parentheses here for the first value here. Instead of specifying like one specific light, you can specify, you know, the star again, and then you can set up flicker for every single light identically. So that's probably the main use I would probably have for this one. Of course, I'm sure there's some situations where you might want to set up flickering without doing it in your level editor, but I think it's probably just more simpler to do it in your level editor, unless you want to do a whole bunch of lights in bulk and you don't want to manually enter every single value. So very useful for that. Otherwise, it seems more tedious to do it via functions. So let's comment those out, and let's talk about the remaining ones. These probably not going to put too much detail into, just kind of make a mention to them. So we'll do the next one called light get brightness. So you can specify the name of a light, and it will return back to you what the brightness of a light is. So you know, if you want to see if the brightness is equal to something, like, you know, for example, we have a light called light or something like that, right? Light. And you want to get the brightness, but you want to see what the brightness is. So you can use this in any kind of an if statement, like, you know, if light get brightness, E equals, you know, 0.0 or, you know, 1.0, or pretty much whatever you want here. You can check here 1.0. You can check whatever it is. So if you wanted to check the brightness, this is the function you use to check it. So you can check the brightness of a light. So let's go ahead and talk about the next one. So they have a couple of default options. So if we do light underscore fade, we'll type in fade. You'll notice we have this other one that we haven't talked about. We talked about these two, but we haven't talked about this one. Light fade brightness to default. So this will pretty much fade the light. This has identical values to this one, fade brightness too, but you don't have to specify a brightness, because what will happen is it will fade to the default brightness of the light before you made any changes to it. So if you had it set in the level editor to be like 1.0 F or something like that, once you run this, it will, and you changed, let's say you set it to one, you had it 1.0 F, 1.0, and you changed it to like 5 in your script. This will let you change it back to what it was originally. So you can do that if you want to revert back any light changes you made, or you can simply just set them back to whatever light whatever brightness you want to. And then the other one involving the default stuff is light underscore get. So this does the same thing as that last one, get default brightness. It gets you the brightness, but not the current brightness. It'll get you the brightness that it was originally. So if you wanted to check what it was, again, this would be the one, and you just put in the name of the light. And that's it for this one. So we would just put in light here so you guys can see it. So imagine that was the name of our light, and we'll put the semicolon up for this one since I forgot it as well. Only a few more left. We're almost done. 2 more actually. So the last ones, we're gonna do light underscore set cast shadows. So so you can go ahead and, for this is only for spotlights, but you can go ahead and set whether or not you want a spotlight to cast a shadow. So again, we talked about shadows also in the last episode, in part 1. But you can have spotlights produce a shadow when it's pointed at an object. So if you wanted to disable it in your script or enable the shadows for that spotlight in your script, you can do it here. You put in, spotlight 1 or something, whatever you have it called, and then you set this to true if you want to enable shadows, or if you want to disable it, you can set this to false here. So if you wanted to control this via your script, that's how you do it. You can set it right there. We'll go ahead and comment that out though, and we'll talk about the last one, and this is going to be light underscore set cheap gobo. So if again, if you watch part 1, you would know we talked about gobos, and gobos are pretty much just a texture that you apply to a light that allows the light to emit that texture. So if we go to our level editor here, we had it here, just to show you, this one right here. So this one has a texture. If you go to light, you see we had gobo and we set portal meat market, and you can see it like reflects that. Let me see if I can focus in on this here, or yeah, and if we zoom in, you can see like that texture is reflected on the walls here. That's what the gobo is there. And if we go back to our code light, what cheap gobo pretty much does, it enables a cheap rendering method for that texture. So if you wanted to have that, that image, but you wanted it to not render so detailed, and you wanted to save on like processing, like GPU processing, you can go ahead and use this function here. So you can set it to true or not. By default, this is always set to true when you set a gobo texture. So if we had like our point light here, whatever it's called, point light underscore, we set this to, if you're running this, you're probably setting it to false. So you're or you're probably setting this to true, sorry. True, making it render the texture at using like cheaper, like using a method that uses less resources on the GPU, which does produce a bit of a worse texture, but allows for lower end computers to not struggle so much. It also might just be useful if in a specific room you have a lot going on and you're getting a lot of frame drops in your game when you're playing it. You might want to think about doing something like this, setting it to cheap gobo for easier rendering if you are using any textures like that from your point light. That way you don't have it bogging down your rooms or your custom stories that you're working on your levels. So you can set that to true to set that to cheap. I tested out myself. I don't know if it's a huge difference, maybe a minor difference, but I didn't really do a side-by-side comparison. So it doesn't really seem like it does much. And again, you can't specify multiple as well if you had a multiple to have a global texture on them. And with that, that does it for all the light effects that I wanted to talk about today. That pretty much does it for advanced lighting, at least now. If any new topics come up in the future, I will maybe make a part 3 if necessary. But for now, this will wrap up advanced lighting. We do need to still talk about light masks. It's just a way for you to block light from entering certain areas or keep light in certain areas. So we do have to talk about that at some point. So it's another lighting related thing that we have to talk about, but I probably won't do that in the next episode. Maybe in one of the coming episodes we'll talk about that. But for now, I don't have the next video planned just yet. But I do have a few topics I want to get to soon. I want to get to fear. That's the big one for custom stories, talking about fear. Also, we have to talk about, items in general. We haven't really touched upon items at all. We have so much. We have animations. Again, you guys saw that list. I have so much to still put on that. Actually, I'll bring the list here for you guys to see it again, just to wrap up the episode with that. I gotta zoom you guys out for that. And I don't think I have light mask here, so I'll add light masks here as well. So again, this is my list right now of what I got going on. We have a lot more to talk about. If there's something here in the list that you don't see, make sure you let me know. There are some of the things that I might have not put on here, so don't take it too strictly. But yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap up today's episode, guys. Again, make sure you leave a like on the video. Make sure, if you're not subscribed already, you go ahead and subscribe. And we have a lot more videos coming out in the future episodes, so we got to keep grinding these videos out. And again, leave comments if there's anything that we haven't touched upon yet that you want to see. But I know I get a lot of suggestions, and I write them all down. I put them in this list here every time. So make sure you guys keep the suggestions coming. We definitely got a lot more to cover in future episodes. So with that, guys, I hope you guys have a good day. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye.